all right, I'll get it up. And no, that's not it. Are we just waiting for me? It's so quiet. Anybody have stories to tell? How's Cortland? PowerPoint?
Sorry, I'm a little distracted. And there's another conference attendee who's having issues trying to log in, and I'm texting and emailing her now with a link. Sorry.
That's totally fine. You seeing my screen?
Not yet, no.
Okay. This is my predicament. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Right. Okay. But are you seeing that?
Yep.
Okay. So just let me know when we're starting.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and start so we stay on schedule. If you want to give a brief introduction of yourself. And also, I am recording the session on YouTube after the conference.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Good morning. And welcome to the Power of Water. My name is Andrea Velazquez. I've been immersed in the aquatics industry for well over 25 years. I'm recreation supervisor here in the city of Yonkers, Westchester County, and I'm also a aquatic fitness specialist. So I've presented here. This is my third year presenting at the SUNY Rec Conference, and I'm a graduate of SUNY Cortland. Go SUNY. Have my Cortland uniform on this morning. And my passion is water, and any type of form of water to help everybody and anybody, any age, any shape, form, to help yourself mentally and physically, and to kind of get the word out to the population about how important water is. And so this presentation kind of combines more of what I try to educate out in the public. So I think if you have any questions, there is a chat box on the side. And thank you, Natalie, for being the proctor here. And we'll get started. If you have any questions, just type them in. I tend to be very animated, so it's kind of strange to sit down. So if you see my hands moving a lot, that's because I can't sit still. So here we go, the power of water. Thank you guys all for joining. So now my screen is not moving. Oh, there we go. Okay. Why water? So water gives us the opportunity to heal mentally and physically through its intrinsic properties. My notes aren't showing here, so now I'm definitely going to be moving paperwork. So, but why water? Of course, they said water just has so many mental and physical properties. There's so much for water to help you in our everyday lives, as well as physically and mentally. So that's why water is so important in every aspect. Okay, water is in every religion. Water is in Judaism, Islam, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Protestants, everywhere. Native American Indians.
And listen to the other.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing voices and they're not my own.
Just make
so-
sure if we join, let's mute ourselves so we can hear the presenter. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. So we have Native Americans. They knew way before all of us how important water was. They had an intrinsic connection to the earth, and not just the water, but the land. So very important. They knew the connection between humans, minds.
I'm all set. I heard the other comments you made.
We have. Sorry, I'm hearing lots of voices. They're not in my home. Buddhism, water and lotus, connected. We have Judaism, okay, water, spirituality, purity, cleansing. We have our Catholics, we have baptism, where we rinse all the impurities off when we're born. So basically all the religions, Muslim, very divine, sacred, water, absolutely cleansing. In all religions, when you have the Ganges River in India, definitely cleansing from all aspects and all castes. So all over the world, spirituality and religion is linked to water. So water's been called also the most malleable computer. So it imprints whatever we give to it. This is by world-renowned material scientist Russ Roy. Water is very malleable, as it says so. It becomes catalyst for change. It copies, it memorizes, and it transports information. So what you give to water, water will give back. And that includes mentally as well as physically in our aquatic classes. So one of my favorite persons, unfortunately passed away a while ago, is Dr. Masudo Emoto. He's a Japanese researcher who dedicated his life to the language of water. So he's got great information if you follow him on Facebook. But what he did is he believed in water and our impressions that we could make in water. So he took a bunch of studies, and he took samples of water from various locations, from high up in pure water, from mountains to water down in a poor polluted part of the world. He froze them and showed how the difference were in the positive attributes and the negative attributes. And also he spoke words. For instance, you can see here, like he said, he had a sample, and he would play symphony music, say passionate, positive words, and he would freeze it and take a picture of how it looked. And you could see compassion, thank you, wisdom. They were actually intricate designs. Then went the other way and did negative words and had negative aspects, and you could see how the form of the water came. So I mean, you can take this as you would like to take, but for me, it's also another just sign of how malleable and how important water is, and how it really takes from what you give to it. So really interesting. If you have a moment, Google Dr. Masuno. Very cool. Okay, water covers over 70% of our planet. Ponds, streams, lakes, rivers, all connect. So, picture the world, and we have all these tributaries and all the main bodies of water. Our bodies are kind of like that as well. Here we go, the human body, right? We're all interconnected. So if you can picture the world with all of its bodies of water coming together, working individually, yet coming together to be harmonious, it's the same within our human body. Okay, water in the human body. This is our genetic makeup. We're pretty much made mostly of water. Brain, 75%, blood, heart, bones, muscles, liver, kidneys. So we are water. We are that malleable substance. Water in the human body, what does it do for us? It forms saliva, keeps mucous membranes moist, allows cells to grow and reproduce, flushes body waste, lubricates joints, right? It's a major component of our body parts. It's needed by the brain to manufacture hormones and neurotransmitters, which would be our dopamine and serotonin, and amongst others, regulates our body temperature. Water also helps to do that. Sweating and respiration, acts as a shock absorber for the brain and spinal cord, converts food to components needed for nutrition, and helps deliver oxygen all over the body. Lots of things we know water does, right? Fact. So over 90% of US high school students don't get enough exercise to stay fit and healthy. So this was pre-pandemic. So in general, right, this is in United States, you know, our kids weren't getting enough physical activity. So now toss in coronavirus, and it's just even surpassed what was bad. It's now just not any better. In fact, what we need, and this is also adults, children, and adolescents, as well as adults, need to do activity minimum, at least 60 minutes a day, just to lubricate that body and keep fluids moving. Okay. So here we go. Only 1 in 3 children are physically active every day, and that number has actually gone down due to the pandemic. Now we have kids who are in virtual classrooms for pretty much up to 6 hours a day, and then the lack of programs now because of social distancing and parents afraid to let their children out, all for good reason, but that has also contributed to no one doing much. We're not able to do as much as we need to do. Okay, so now they're spending more time in front of TVs. And also recent reports project that by 2030, half of all adults will be obese. So again, we're compounding everything because of coronavirus and how now our lack of opportunities to do physical exercise has now dwindled, just temporarily until this can go. Okay, almost 41% of US adults in the survey by US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported struggling with their mental health and substance abuse related to coronavirus. So if we had it kind of a problematic situation back in March or beforehand, just in general life and the challenges this life presents, obviously coronavirus has just compounded everything. So we need to make the world better. We need to make our populations better. We need to help get everyone on the right track for healing, both physically and mentally, because of what has been going on within the world, within our lives, losing jobs, sicknesses, dealing with just politics, everything that is happening in this world. It's even more important to add water as that intrinsic component to help with us. This is just a picture of Rona, which I unaffectionately call Rovo. She's really made it show even more importance that water, especially at this time of our existence, is super important in helping to help everyone recover from this coronavirus mentally and physically. So we'll go to physical activity. As we all know, if you are physically active, its increased levels of physical activity can significantly reduce the odds of depression, even among persons who are genetically predisposed to the condition. So as I said before, when we do exercise, right, we have serotonin, dopamine, all of our systems are moving more, functioning more, heightened sensitivity outside, just positive attributes to physical activity. So when you add in water, it's that extra component. It brings it up because of the physical properties of water. We just add in more positive aspects to physical activity. And as recreation professionals, we know how important recreation and leisure is to society, right? It's holistic, intrinsic, and adding water as aquatic professionals, we're just adding an extra layer and depth of intrinsic and physical rehabilitation. Okay, misconceptions about water exercise. So why do people not choose water? You must be injured to exercise in the water. That's completely untrue. In fact, it should be the other way around. We should be exercising specifically functional movements in the water so we can be better on land, so we don't hurt ourselves. So it should not be the last resort. It should be the first thing you do so you don't get injured. Only old people exercise in the water. Yeah, that's a big misconception, specifically in the United States. The rest of the world is ahead of us in their thinking, in that aquatic fitness doesn't go by the name water aerobics, because that definitely connotes older populations. They incorporated youngsters. It's like how we go to Planet Fitness here in countries in Italy, in South Korea, in Brazil, in Australia. It is for younger generations, not only for senior populations. It is a huge force in other countries. And the United States is catching up slowly, but we're still behind when it comes to that thought process, because when we think of aquatic fitness, we automatically just cancel it out and think that it's just for seniors and I'm not going to get anything out of it. Myth number 3, you must know how to swim. Completely untrue. In fact, great thing happening in within USA Swimming, and 2 bigwigs in USA Swimming, Mick and Sue Nelson, have helped create the correct perception of aquatic fitness in taking the horizontal fitness, if you want to call it, or swim team mindset, and working into the vertical mindset. So you don't have to be a fast swimmer. You don't have to swim. You can actually go into the water vertically, do your exercises. It's a precursor to going horizontal. So if you have your scared individuals, your adults who are petrified of the water, how about we get them in vertically before we take them horizontally? So you don't know how to swim in order to get huge benefits in functional movements. And if you think about it, on land, we're not in horizontal positions. We walk, we're in vertical. So that would just make sense to take a scared person into the water vertically before we transition them horizontally. Myth number 4 would be you cannot get a tough workout in the water. So completely untrue. The types of classes that are out there mimic, we have boxing, low impact, hard use of equipment. The difference with the equipment in the water is it just slows your movements down so you can correct your form and function. So it doesn't make it any less hard. It slows that movement down so you're correct. So you don't have gravity against you and you're able to correct your form. So patterning and posture before you go into power. Okay, fun facts about the water. It is a buoyant, 3-dimensional, holistic, non-momentum environment. The opposite of weighted, 1-dimensional, prone environment found on land. So on land, we have gravity, and we're pretty much in 1 dimension. There's 3 planes of motion. We spend most of our time in 1 plane of motion. Water does not discriminate. Water can be up to 800 times more supportive than air, but up to 15 times more resistant to any movement. So the harder you push water, the harder it will give back to you. Whatever you give to it, it gives it back. Okay, we want to create aquatic programs that appeal to new generation. So not only do we want to hit it though physically, all of this also intrinsically as well. Offer diversity of options that appeal to teens, young adults, baby boomers, seniors, exercises based on medically based research. So we're not just giving you classes that just are moving in the water just to move in the water. There's actually reasoning and medically backed exercises based on research. Understanding and utilizing the properties of water, which makes a huge difference in what you do in the water. If you just put someone in the water just for the sake of it, that's not going to be very beneficial for the person in the water. So in essence, it's kind of bringing the gym into the pool. Okay, there's 7 primarily basic moves that we perform in our day-to-day life. This means we need to skip designing our workouts around body parts and non-purposeful movements, and instead focus on using tools and methods that build good functional movement patterns. So functional movement, and that's a big movement, right? Functional fitness, that's great, and we do have a lot of it on land. But if you take those functional movements that you do on land in the water, you're able to slow those movements down because of the property of water. You're able to correct irregularities, wrong patterns. You fix them in the water, and this way you take it back on land, and you're better on land. So if you still have 2 left feet, like I do, you're still going to fall, but your action-reaction time will be better because of what you are doing in the water. Okay, our 7 foundational movements. We have pushing, pulling, hinging, squatting, twisting, rotating, lunging, walking, and running. So these are typical everyday movements that you do on land, that you do at work, that you do in your office, that you do in your home, that you do walking down the street. These are your general movements. These are what need to be trained, whether you're at the gym or in the water. Our planes of motion. So we have 3 different planes of motion. We spend the majority of our time, our dominant plane is our sagittal plane, which you can see, right? That's our front to back motion. Frontal plane divides the body into front and back. Okay, and that will be our abductor, adductor movers. Our transverse plane is our rotational movement. So we have a lot of spinal rotation, spinal flexion movement. So this is kind of an example of the amount of time we spend in that dominant plane. And you can see out of 20 hours in the day, we spend so much time in this plane of motion. We are sitting at our desk maybe more than 6 hours a day. We're driving our car, so in this plane of motion. We are eating in this plane of motion. Chances are we are watching TV in this plane of motion. When we sleep, we're still in this plane of motion. So this is the dominant plane of motion. So when you do other movements in the other planes, the frontal or the horizontal, that's where we can get our injuries because they're not as utilized as much as the others, and they should be. All planes should be equally worked out. So when you do move into another plane of motion, your chances of injury are less because you've been practicing in those planes. So this is just an example of water workouts in comparison to land workout. What's the difference? So land workout, for instance, we'll take your typical bicep curl. When your arm curls, your muscles contract and shorten, right? Okay, and then we have gravity working against us as we come down. So it's a controlled movement, yet this is chances of you hurting yourself are pretty much higher because the controlled movement is hard because of gravity. In the water, you have the support of buoyancy of the water. So as you can still do that same movement, but you're supported as you're extending your arm. So less chance of getting hurt in the water as opposed to on land. And this is a information from one of my friends who is a huge presenter around the country. And so it's a great Great slide if you want to take pictures or screenshots or whatever. So proprioception, okay, water helps us work on our proprioception. Well, what is proprioception? Awareness of the body in space. It's the use of joint position, sense, and joint motion to respond to stresses placed upon the body by alteration of posture and movement. So again, everything that we work in the water will help us on land. So it's that sixth sense, right? Our extra feelings of how we're going to react, our action reaction. We're walking down the street, we slip on ice. How are we going to react to that? Training with increasing our proprioception in the water with dynamic, fast movements will help us on land, will help us be aware of our environment around us, and help us in case accidents do occur, or just in general. Okay, properties of water. Okay, we have buoyancy, hydrostatic pressure, viscosity, drag. Okay, this young lady to the left is a pro surfer in Hawaii, and she works out, literally, that's a picture of her holding a boulder down. And she's working on her lung capacity, holding her breath underwater, because when she gets knocked off the surfboard with those big waves in Hawaii, she needs to be able to take care of herself until she can get back up for air. That's just a great picture of her. Physical characteristics of water that make it amazing. The buoyancy. Again, the buoyancy is aiding support of the body, reducing weight contact in the pool bottom. So on land, we have gravity, which pushes everything down. In water, we have buoyancy, which helps support. So depending on what type of equipment you have in the water, it could be buoyancy assisted, buoyancy resisted. Buoyancy is a great thing in the water. That's why water is such a great medium to do things in. Hydrostatic pressure. So it's like think of a huge vise in the water that is equally pushing the water against you. So it's like a big glove, and it helps with circulation. It helps move the blood. Everything just gets pumped better due to that hydrostatic pressure. And the deeper you go, the better it is. Viscosity provides resistance to the movement of the water. The faster you move in water, the more resistance you get. Also, the colder the water is, the harder it is to move, and the warmer it is, kind of like butter. Drag is the resistance of an object moving through the water. So as we said, the harder you push in the water, the more it pushes back. And adding equipment in the water creates more drag and makes workouts harder. So this is a quick overview of buoyancy that we just went over, defined as upward force that opposes the force of gravity. That is one of the main components why water is such a safe place to work out in. Okay, we have viscosity, which is friction between the molecules of a liquid. And as I said, the warmer the water, the easier it is to move in the water. The cooler the water, the harder it is to move through the water. Okay. Viscosity also slows down your movements. It allows increased time of response so that reaction time can be trained more functionally. And as I stated before, you want to slow your movements down in water so you can fix those inequities and those improper movements so you're better on land when you do those movements. So we're not necessarily saying that we're replacing your land workout with a water workout. This is something to make your land workouts better. Okay, hydrostatic pressure, so that vise that helps to promote that nice consistency and that blood flow through the body in all points. Okay, the pressure of molecules of a fluid upon an immersed body. Okay, and one thing that is a little frustrating is there is a different heart rate in water than on land. If you go to a gym, I know there's gym here, and they have a heart rate chart on the wall, but you cannot compare land heart rate to water heart rate because they're different mediums. So you will be working out hard, but if you're taking your heart rate, it's going to be lower because of the hydrostatic pressure. This is a reason why people think they don't work out hard in the water, because they're comparing their land heart rate to water, and you can't do that. They're completely different things. Okay, drag is the resistance of an object moving through the water. So if you're on the swim team, like I was, woohoo, SUNY Cortland, you have, if you've used a parachute that's dragging you, pulling you back in the water, though, you have, if you're doing vertical classes, you can put all different types of equipment, and we'll go through that. Okay, who do we want to get in the water? So right now, in general, even before Corona, wanted everyone in the water. Right now, even more so to get that same population in the water. Teenagers, adults, seniors, athletes, rehab candidates, wounded warriors, people coming back from war, anybody in the water, not just for the physical perks that you get, but that intrinsic, those holistic, those spiritual perks that you get as well. Okay, teams. Why are teams training just on land? The top picture, actually, for Westchester County lifeguards, we actually did tandem training, which the staff loved, and they were able to work on their proprioception, their balance, their action-reaction time, because we know when that whistle blows, lifeguards need to run ASAP to wherever they're needed, and their action reaction time is definitely increased when you're working on unstable environments. So we want anyone who can get in water, go in water. How do we get people interested in water in the first place? We need education out there. We need people in charge, not just kids, but adults, understands the benefits of water physically and mentally. So it's so important that if you do have your aquatics personnel in your facility, that they are knowledgeable of what they need to offer to the public. So it's not just you're taking somebody and putting them in the water just because you're short-staffed and you need to fill a spot. It's so important that you have educated individuals out there who can help transfer that information to your participants. Social approach, everyone else is doing it. How do we make it the mainstay? So Zumba has Aqua Zumba. Everybody goes to Aqua Zumba because they love Zumba. How do you make it mainstay? And Zumba is a party in the pool, but where's that medically based information? Where's those functional movements? You may have that or you may not have that. We want aquatic fitness to not be that grandma's class and shy away from it. We want it to be, I'm going to work out in the pool and then I'll meet you at the basketball court. We want it to be mainstay. Individualized approach as well. Maybe it doesn't have to be any group things. You can have just someone put their music on, put their headphones on, go into corner of the pool, don't even get your hair wet, and just movement in the water. So we need to get that out there, that aspect, that water is a medium to make you better mentally and physically, and let's get that movement going. One thing that we are working on, and a program is presented through Starfish Aquatic Institute, would be Teen Aquatic Fitness, and I just touched on some of it, creating aquatic fitness programs geared for the teen mindset, with that teen, I'm too cool for the pool mindset, so how do we get them in? Functional movements that encompass everyday life movements, and it's not just for teenagers. These are for kids, these are for adults, these are for anybody and everybody. These functional movements making you better on land. Train in the water to be better on land. I know that's my mantra. I'm sorry, I say the same thing. What do we want to teach? Also, we want to combine those 7 movements with unique water properties and equipment so we can balance muscle groups and movement patterns much more efficiently, so we can hit our DPW guys, our parks maintenance workers, our Con Ed guys, or any of any and all workers that do any type of functional movement and then just hit the gym. I know for where we are, Parks Department, our maintenance guys, when they go out on disability, they're hurting their back, they're hurting their shoulders, knees, ankles, necks. All these are movements. If trained in the water doing those movements, the less chance it is of them getting hurt. Or if they get hurt, their recovery will be quicker because they're training those functional movements in the water. Who should be teaching your aquatic programs? So you want people who are knowledgeable. So there's many groups out there, Aquatic Exercise Association, ATRI, Aquatic Rehab, We Coach Wave Makers, which is an excellent program. All of these are medically based. Sarah Cooperman Fitness, there's Program Water in Motion, Rick McAvoy Aquatics, who is a guru of aquatic fitness and exercise, and just lots of research pertaining to aquatic fitness. There's so many modalities out there. Just look for it. If you need more information, you can always contact me, but you want your people to be knowledgeable. Types of equipment, right? We have buoyancy, neutral buoyancy, weighted equipment, elastic, drag equipment. So I'm just going to show you some pictures. Our typical buoyancy equipment. And so we have these, you can have buoyancy equipment used in your hands. You can have them on your feet. Depends on what you like. So flotation barbells, dumbbells, kickboards, balls, hydro cuffs, belts, noodles. Okay, when applied to the limb or trunk, this type of equipment assists in improving flexibility and stabilization. So because it's buoyant, it's pushing you up, whichever type of buoyancy equipment you're using. So you're really grounding yourself to the bottom of the pool. So you are applying your core muscles, your leg muscles, you're activating those feet muscles. You're trying to stay down. The buoyancy of the water is pushing you up, as well as the buoyancy of equipment. So it's great spinal stabilization. Okay, it also works flexibility because, again, the buoyant object is moving up to the top of the water. The buoyancy of the water supporting you, so you have a safe environment in order to work on flexibility. Okay. Weighted equipment kind of is the same as on land. The difference is that the weighted equipment, of course, is in the buoyancy environment. So it's safer to move. Your movements are going to be slower, but you're able to correct that form and function. So it's awesome. Elastic equipment. So there's different types of elastic equipment. You definitely want to get the kind that can be submerged in warm chlorinated water, and they're inexpensive and use them the same as you would on land. Again, the difference is the water is slowing you down due to the viscosity and drag, and you get a great workout. And very easy to take with you anywhere. Drag equipment. This is just a picture of specific drag equipment. And depending on the type of equipment you have, you want equipment that is three-dimensional, that will move in any direction in the water. So for instance, I had someone once ask me about using fins as part of their aquatic fitness workout. Fins are one-dimensional. They're great, but they're staying in that one dimension. So that movement would only be working pretty much in our sagittal plane, right? And that's not going to help because we want to train our movements equally in all three dimensions. So you want drag equipment that is universal, that's going to be three-dimensional. And you have gloves, fins, paddles, various types of equipment there. So drag equipment, as with buoyant equipment, size of equipment, shape, surface area, speed of movement all contribute to determine level of drag resistance. And the muscle actions consist primarily of concentric muscle actions due to water's multi-directional resistance. So it's awesome. It's just drag equipment is great in the water. And I just stated this, the difference between buoyancy and drag equipment, or did I? Well, just in case. So buoyancy is great for stability and flexibility due to that us wanting to keep ourselves grounded because of the water buoyancy and the equipment buoyancy. So it's grounding us, it's making us activate our muscles so we stay in the water. Drag equipment will be working on that as well, but because it's not necessarily weighted, but because of the material that it's made and the size of it increases our muscle strength and our muscle endurance. So that's the difference. So my choice always is drag equipment over buoyancy equipment because I get more out of that. Whereas buoyancy, I'm only working on my flexibility and stability, which is not bad and is a great piece of therapeutic equipment. But I would definitely add drag equipment to that to get that muscle stability, that muscle strength, and muscular endurance. So this is some type of equipment. Here we go, aquatic bikes, treadmills. These are all in the water. I know Cortland has a great new recreation pool. I only saw it 2 years ago. I hope you guys have some great equipment in there now. There are treadmills, and these are used a lot for therapeutic use. Okay, there's aquatic circuit training stations. This is a picture here. You can use boxing. There's elastic tethers, T-bar on top. Okay, we have floating fitness boards, which are amazing tool to work on your proprioception. Just absolutely awesome. Even though you're not specifically in the water, you're on the water, so you are improving your land reactions because of the unstable environment. Super cool. Okay, trampolines. Here we go. Trampolines, actually, they're different. A water trampoline is made so you're pushing down. You're pushing against the buoyancy of the water. Whereas on land, our trampoline, we're working against gravity. So we're trying to go up. So our trampoline in the water, we're going down. We're sinking into our joints. And on a trampoline, land trampoline, we're going against gravity. So there's a difference in it, and a great workout in the water. A step can be used same way that you would use a step on land, except the movements are slower. Okay, we can offer resistance types of programming. There's different equipment, Aqua Strength, Aqualogics, Speedo Disc, Drum Vibes, which is a drumstick in the water, weighted, awesome. Could just makes your lever longer, your limb longer, and just makes the exercises harder. Okay. Jogging, running, sprinting, boxing, yoga, resistance workouts, flexibility workouts, boot camp. There's so many things you can do in the water. Floating yoga. This is just a picture. You get ideas. Drum vibes. Finding the right equipment. Okay, so first of all, you want to consider your demographics, right? If you do just have a senior population, what can we do to help these seniors with prehab, with rehab, with post-hab, with making their functional movements more functional, or their non-existent functional movements because of the way that they spend their time on land? How can we undo what they do on land in the water to make them better so they can go on land? I am an aquatics person by trade because our pool has been closed, and we're still closed, unfortunately, which is very frustrating. I've been delegated to teaching land classes, and my mindset is all aquatic. So I take my aquatic movements, because they're all based on functional movements, and I've taken them over to the land. And it's really interesting because it's all connected. And these movements are helping my participants move better functionally on land, working three-dimensionally. And I never thought about that land aspect of it because I've always been that water person. So it is great considering my demographics with now the seniors. I'm able to still do what we would be doing in the water with the seniors that I'm working now. I've also worked with teenagers and younger groups, those same movements that I do in the water and with the seniors on land, I can do with the teenagers. So the demographic would be, how am I getting these kids in the water? How am I keeping these seniors interested? And that's where the different types of equipment would come in. What would I use to keep kids in the water? I would definitely get those floating fitness boards. They're awesome. I would use different equipment that would keep younger generations engaged. Seniors can, of course, use everything, but how am I keeping those other demographics in? Programming budget. I don't know if you are graced and lucky enough to have a program budget where you write that PO, purchase order, and you're able to get what you want, then absolutely take advantage of equipment, especially unique equipment, because most equipment can be multi-useful. So if you can use it in aquatic fitness functions, as well as learn to swim programs. And if you are in a scenario where probably most of us are, where your programming budget may be non-existent due to the current situation, you want to buy equipment that's going to last for a long time again and be multi-useful. So definitely important things. Research your product to find out if it works for you and your participants. So again, depending on who you want to get in the water and who you have in the water, you're going to have to make that initial investment. So for investing in yourself, staff training programs for specific equipment, make sure your staff is educated. Do not put the lifeguard in the water who is a filler because the aquatic fitness exercise instructor is no longer there or had an emergency. When you fill that spot with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you've contributed to that stereotype of the aquatic fitness program as something that I'm not going to be getting a workout out of, and it's just for older people. We want to kill that stereotype. So definitely invest in yourself and training. Okay, few years ago, we, in fact, this year coming up, well, 2021, we use equipment at ATRI. So those of you who are Therapeutic Rec, Aquatic Therapy and Rehab Institute. And so the Aquapole is not just a tool in the water, and it's not a stripper pole, so get that out of your mind. That's what everyone thinks. It's just a versatile tool in the water, and you can do many different things with it. It is incorporated in a lot of programs, including programs for Parkinson's disease, breast cancer survivors, prehab, post-hab, boxing. So it is a great piece of equipment that is utilized in many different ways. So this is one of the examples of one of the courses that Aquapole does. We have rehabilitation after injuries and or operations. Again, there are specific courses also for Parkinson's, for cancer survivors. And these are all based on functional movements and movement patterns specific to that ailment with the use of equipment. So a couple of years ago, I was able to do I had a class demo with Mount Sinai in New York City, their outpatient rehab. And my mom and I actually went, we brought the equipment down and we had a list of all the movements we were going to do, and very therapeutic. We get to the pool's like water temperature is about 78 degrees. So that first of all, was not good for therapeutic rehab. And then none of our participants wanted anything to do with any type of therapeutic movement. They just wanted to play around on the pole. It was awesome. We had a paraplegic, we had 2 spinals, we had a brain injury, and we had stroke rehab. And they just loved the idea of being on a different piece of equipment. And, you know, it was awesome. We had a great time. I put some resistance equipment, noted where it needed to be, and they just had a great time. So the idea was to do therapeutic movements with them, and they just wanted to play around. We did slip in therapeutic movements, kind of like broccoli to kids without them knowing, but it was all in all a great time. So this is a just International School of Aquatic Fitness, which has information, which has certifications pertaining to what I was just mentioning, toning, boxing. There's a jump, bike, run spear, fluid golf training, hydropower, hydroburn. There's so many courses out there. There's specific medically based courses out there, and you can get that information from International School of Aquatic Fitness. I just throw this in because I'm a huge proponent of functional movement and functional fitness. I haven't sat on a regular ball in my office in years, and I get my coworkers, I got 2 of my coworkers to change into balls because it just helps you sit better. And if we're going to be stuck in this position, especially now during coronavirus times, you want to make the best of your sitting position. So I just had to throw that in. I thought that was pretty funny. But so all of this information is something for you to think about. You cannot evolve unless you're willing to change. So please change that concept and that mindset of aquatics, and that it's just not for everyone, because it is for everyone. The spirituality of it, the mental cleansing, the energy that water has. Bring that to the pool, and then add in fun times, add in equipment, add in other things to get people moving so they're better on land. So that is my wish for you guys today, is to understand at least how important water is and how important water plays in our life and how it's all connected, and we're all connected. And if you have any information, this is my information down here. And I'm not sure if there's any questions or any information.
Yeah, so if we want to open up questions, we only have about 4 minutes left in this session. But if anyone does have a question, feel free to ask now.
So quiet now, except for my cat.
All right, so if there's no questions, I just sent our link to our website, the Cortland Recreation Conference website. So if you check that out, we have our updated list of sessions and their links, so you can check that out there. I put it in the chat. And if you could check your chat, if I message you privately, could you respond to that? But if you didn't receive a private chat message, thank you all for attending this session. And thank you to our presenter for doing a wonderful, wonderful job.
Thank you guys. Have a great day and stay positive. Hope to see you guys in person next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.